All right, so let's do the wrap up from Unit 4 here. So, this part here, the takeaway, really is going to do an overview of the whole greater idea and theme of the unit. The time period that we were looking at in this unit. So, let's say approximately from 1877, from the end of the Philadelphia World Expo until the election of 1892 and the second administration of Garfield, or sorry, of Cleveland, is a period of growth and change. Um, it's a time of reform. Reform is a fancy way of saying fixing or making over, literally redoing. Government was exceptionally corrupt at local and state levels and even at the national level. Look at something like the situation with Ulysses S. Grant's cabinet and all the people that were so corrupt in his administration. The the reform of government takes the sort of shape in the idea of the meritocracy, that you don't get jobs because you somehow like you don't get jobs because you know somebody or somebody owes you a favor. You get a job because you earned it, and that the people who are in that position know what they're doing and they belong where they are. Economic reforms. The period of time that we're looking at, you have this struggle between gold and silver and between sort of solid currency and kind of a squishy currency. There's a lot of fixing and change that needs to go on. And labor, the growth of labor unions and the decision of workers to join together in order to try to make their lives better. At the same time, there are reforms. There's also radicalism. And that's basically the easiest way to look at it. It's just cray cray. Politics was getting nuts. The time period that we're looking at really saw a growth in Marxist leftist ideology and had some really bad things result from that. You had lots of violence, lots of upheaval, lots of riots and death, and just a lot of tension between laborers and business people and owners. Economic radicalism, the idea that some people wanted money that had no real intrinsic value to it, to make it easier for people to pay their bills off and to basically try to achieve some kind of like economic equality. It's a change in politics too. The political parties really change a lot. So, taking like looking at that, you know, you have Democrats and you have Republicans. So in the 1870s, when we first start looking at the unit, the Democrats are the conservatives. It's Reconstruction. The Democrats are opposed to the government in Reconstruction. The government's too big. The government's controlling too much of everyday life for people. The government has no business being involved in the lives and the day-to-day operations of the states, let alone the localities or anything else. The Democrats want small government. The Democrats want a solid currency because a solid currency means that it's the money is worth more and that people have a better chance with money. They want free market. Why? Because free market is competition, which makes things cheaper and easier to buy. And with solid money, it makes it all the better to purchase stuff. Republicans, on the other hand, are split. Remember, the one issue that created the Republican Party was slavery. With slavery gone, we now have sort of like the fractioning of the party because there's nothing left to unite them. So, on the one hand, you have the liberal progressive Republicans. They're all about civil rights. They're all about the idea of cheap money. And they are all about the idea of crony capitalism. They're the ones who want the government involved with business. Because remember, at the time we're talking about, the biggest industry in America were the railroads, and they were fueled by government money and political entrepreneurs. On the other side of the Republican Party, there are like the conservative Republicans who are almost like the Democrats. They believe in the free market. They want the competition. They believe in the gold standard. They want solid money. They believe in big business and American entrepreneurship. They also believe in civil rights. The only thing that unites the two halves of the Republican Party together is this like idea of civil rights. In the 1880s, the Democrats are still conservative, but they're starting to grow more progressive. They're looking at changing voting patterns, and they want those votes. We have a situation where after Andrew Johnson leaves office, you have 3 consecutive Republican presidencies in a row. The Democrats want pieces of that. And they look at the way that voting is changing and they try to anticipate it and they try to get along with it. And the equality of economic status. The growing belief among the progressives that there should be no rich people, that that money should be somehow taken away and that the government should mandate or distribute that money and force rich people to give it up because it's not fair that they're rich. On the other side, you have the Republicans who in the 1880s begin a sort of a policy of conservative progressivism. They're big on business, big on the gold standard, and big on civil rights. They want the progressivism and the civil rights, but they kind of want the conservative aspects of the business and the gold standard, which leads us to the last part, the 1890s, when the Democrats shift full liberal progressive. They look at groups like the immigrants, the working poor, and the farmers. These are the groups that had gotten the support of that had supported the populists. Generally speaking, these groups were not in favor of civil rights because blacks were seen as rivals. They were potential business problems. They were potential competition, and therefore they didn't want them. And the liberal progressive view is that the equality of economic status is more important than the equality of persons. That idea basically is that certain people cannot help themselves to get better, so the government must do it for them. Ultimately, this kind of boils down to this whole thing where the Democrats look and see that the populace won states based on progressive ideas, and therefore they want those votes and they're willing to compromise to get them. The Republicans, on the other hand, are conservative progressive. They are all for big business, the gold standard, and civil rights. For them, civil rights is the struggle for liberty, and the struggle for liberty is the best way to achieve rights for all. The Republicans are about the idea of equality of opportunity. Not everybody has the same gifts and talents. Not everybody's going to have the same ability to do stuff, but everybody has the same opportunity. That's how we achieve equality and rights for everybody. The Republicans also kind of look at it like this. Cleveland won the presidency with conservative ideas. Harrison had progressive ideas and he lost. Therefore, let's go conservative. So this is kind of a wrap up of everything we had been talking about. And I think we're more or less done with this unit. We can head into our next one. Peace and love.